Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Tebello Mutshani. I'm the founder of Sister-in-Law, a platform which is dedicated to empowering women through legal education. And I'm also the founder of Collective Intelligence Legal Consultants, which provides legal services to SMMEs. So today's topic relates to marriage, as usual, but in a different context to the previous episode. I just want to touch on a topic which was brought to my attention by a client who wanted to know specific information regarding her mother's estate. So what happened with my client is that she explains that her mom passed away 3 years ago, but before she passed away, her and her husband were no longer living together for over 11 years. So they never quite divorced, not quite, but they never actually went to court to divorce, and they were just living separately all along. In those 11 years, the father obviously then found someone who, he dated a girlfriend, and he lived with this woman. He then had children with this woman, and obviously when the mom then passes away, the guy comes back and he says, "This is my house." Now, the client wanted to know what are her rights in that regard, as obviously the mom's dependent. And I explained to her that if your parents were married in community of property, i.e. they hadn't concluded an antenuptial contract, then the position as it stands is that if a party dies without a will, then the surviving spouse can inherit from the estate. So by virtue of being married in community of property, what happens when a party passes away is that the estate is then divided into two equal 50% portions. The husband keeps his 50% of the share, and he also gets a share of the woman's estate of her 50%. The woman, his wife and the children would have inherited intestate, and the children inherit a portion of that 50%, and so does he as a surviving spouse. So if, for example, there were two children and this man, then it means the estate is going to be split into three, or rather the 50% of the deceased wife is going to be split into three, and each child will get a portion, and the husband gets a portion equal to a child's share, or an amount set by the minister. So if that amount is higher than the child's share, then that's what the father will get. If the child's share is bigger than the amount set by the minister, then that's also what the father will get. What this in a sense means is that he is very well within his rights to come back to the house and say, "This is my house." It is, after all, his house. They were married in community of property. They never divorced, and he can come back later with his girlfriend or nyatsi, whatever, and his children and say, "Okay, I've decided to come back to my house. I want to live here." And it's really going to have to be up to the children to decide what they then want to do with their share. They can maybe sell it to the father if that's what he wants. If he can afford to buy their portion, they can sell their portion of the house to the father and walk away with whatever rand value that portion is worth. Or they can all live together as a happy family and live literally happily ever after with their new brothers and sisters. So I hope I have stressed the importance of having a will, especially if you're married in community of property, and especially if you do not want your husband to inherit a portion of your estate when you are no longer alive. And also, I hope I have highlighted the importance of finalizing a divorce and going to court and ensuring that the divorce is finalized with a decree of divorce. Whatever the case is, make sure that the divorce has been finalized. Because if it's not, what also happens over the 11 years is that the pension fund of the respective parties is also accruing. And when one of the parties dies, the surviving spouse has, a benefit or is a beneficiary in this pension fund. So those are the things that you have to take into consideration when deciding to get married in community of property. And those are also the things that you need to take into consideration when you draft your will. And lastly, it is something you definitely have to consider when separating from your partner. It is very important to go through the court base basis, or through the court procedure rather, to ensure that your divorce is finalized and that your assets are distributed in accordance with whatever your marital property regime was. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it was informative, and I'd really like to hear from you. So please send me an email on advice@sisterinlaw.co.za. That's ADVICE@sisterinlaw, one word, .co.za. You can also get in touch with me on all my social media platforms. It's @sister-in-law across the board. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And well, you can also just drop a comment below. I'm dying to hear from you, and whether or not you know of family members or friends who've been through this intestate succession issue, and how they managed to just work their way around it, and if they managed to come to an agreement with their estranged father and his nyatsi, or whatever the situation was. I know as Black people, we are often open or really vulnerable to these sort of things happening, because the education factor also plays a role, and you cannot apply what you don't know. Having said that, the issue of wills, intestate succession, divorce, marriage, child maintenance, and child custody will be discussed and unpacked further at our upcoming Johannesburg workshop, which will be on the 28th of September. 28th September, it is a Saturday, and the workshop will run from 9 to 12 midday. This session will be followed by a very amazing wine tasting networking session, which will be hosted by Siwela Wines. You can get your tickets on Quicket, and I'm going to put the link in the description box below. So please get your tickets and ensure that you are at the workshop to find out more about how you can safeguard your interests. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and like and subscribe. And I hope we'll definitely be seeing you at this workshop. Thank you for tuning in. Bye, guys.